So glad you are with us on the Allon Exchange. Brad Johansson along with Jane Brittany Hagee, Allon Planning Partners. We're thrilled that you're with us, and it is always a joy to be back with you.
Thrilled to be here. Great to be here with you, Brad.
This will be a little bit of fun. And the idea is trying to figure this out feels like anything but fun, right? Which is why we're here. And for a lot of you, thank you for making this appointment TV. That you say, you know what, I'm probably going to learn something, so I'm going to turn this back on. We appreciate you being with us. And for the bulk of you, this may resonate when we kind of talk about whether or not you've got a plan together on retirement. We're kind of going to talk about design instead of default, about really figuring this thing out instead of drifting.
That's right.
Can I lead into it by a lot of people will walk into your office and go, hey, I'm done next week.
Yeah.
Can you help me out with this? And yet
there
has not been a whole lot of preparation. Let's lead into the idea of why preparation and the runway for that may make a big old difference.
Planning matters. Planning matters.
It does.
I see that a lot of times people spend more time planning their summer vacations than they do planning their retirement.
Without question.
You're going to be in retirement for 20 or 30 years, let's hope. And so we should probably spend a lot of time planning this, right? That's why we encourage folks, even younger, come in as soon as you watch us on this program. If you're in your 40s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 50s, wherever you may be, we want to start planning now, because we don't want to wait until you're in retirement, or like you said, they come in with a junk drawer full of statements and say, help me with all this, right? Because we've been trained to save for retirement, which is a good thing, and a lot of people are, which putting away money in 401ks and IRAs and things like this. But do you have a comprehensive plan? Do you have a way to put everything together to say, I am going to have security through retirement? Most people don't know how to answer those questions, and that's where we come in to help. We want to have a holistic plan that is designed for the individual, not just, I'm drifting into retirement with all these accounts and I hope that I make it.
Yeah, well, you don't accidentally end up in a great retirement. You accidentally end up in a really, really rough one, right? So we want to proactively plan towards what that phase of life looks like. And to your point, Jay, a good number of people plan more for their vacations than they do their retirement. And this is a major life change, right? There's so many pieces that go into this puzzle. And it's kind of like autopilot. If you're flying and maybe you get on a plane and you don't have a destination set, I mean, think about that. If you get on a plane and you don't know where you're going, it's not that you're not going to land. It's that you just don't have much control or say over where you land. We want to help, to your point of the runway maybe, we want to help people land where they intend to land and not just by happenstance show up somewhere they don't want to be.
You guys have put so many of these tools together, so I want to use one of these right now because it's appropriate for trying to figure out your flight plan. AllonQuiz.com it's a prep tool, right? You scan the QR code that's on the screen. For a lot of you, you're not even sure what questions you're supposed to ask as to whether or not you're ready for retirement. This tool helps make that easy. In the idea that you guys have said, you know what, we've got a lot of pieces of these puzzles. And for many people who are just dropping the portfolio on your desk, they don't understand how this intertwines, how the dominoes work, how the ripple effect may go. In trying to figure all of this out, this tool helps prep them on that?
It absolutely does. It's going to put some pieces together because you may have saved well, but you may not have an income strategy. You may not know, how do I know which bucket to take from at what time and make sure I don't have Uncle Sam coming to call a little bit more than he should, right?
He knocks a lot.
We want to make sure that we're saving you in taxes, so you have to have a tax strategy. You have to have an estate strategy. You have to have an income plan. There are a lot of things that are pieces of the puzzle that are more than just a savings number that I've put into a retirement account. And so we want to encourage you, go to allonquiz.com. Make sure that you have some of these other pieces together. Maybe you don't even know what the pieces are, like Brad was saying, but that's why we encourage you to go to allonquiz.com and let us start a conversation to put some of these pieces together for you.
Well, and we actually, it makes me think of a family we recently sat down with, a couple that came in They brought their statements, laid them on the desk, said, hey, here's what I've saved. They had done a phenomenal job of saving. He was the CEO of a major company, had done that for 30 years. He and his wife had done a fantastic job of saving. But what they did not do was plan for these other pieces. They hadn't considered taxes.
At all.
They had millions of dollars in tax-deferred accounts. And there was no tax strategy put in play.
How do I get out of this?
To actually take distributions from those without having a massive tax bill. So
That's right.
not just taxes, but healthcare. I mean, they didn't consider how their income was going to impact their Medicare premiums.
Yes.
The 2-year look back, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's huge. And so we were able to put together a true plan for them so that they were fully prepared. They came to us about a year and a half before they wanted to retire, and we were able to really set them up to plan towards that date effectively.
I love that idea, because you don't have that a whole lot, that people are walking in a year and a half before, and that's the plan.
That's right.
Instead of the drift. And for a lot of you, you're thinking that this is a finish line.
That's right.
When in truth, this is just the beginning
It's
of
a
exactly
starting
what you want
point,
to
and
do.
that's really what we want to drive home to people. Retirement isn't the finish line. It may be the close of chapter 1. But there's a whole nother chapter out here that still has to be written. And so we're trying to put a plan together for chapter 2. So where you get to say, I don't have to be dictated by a punch time clock, that I'm not got to go into this job every day to get this income. But I've saved well, so that how do we create an income plan and a tax strategy and an estate plan around the next 30 years of my life, right? It's a different chapter. It's a starting line. It's not a finish line. And that's what most folks have to understand, because they come in, they've worked for 30 years maybe, and typically at these points, it really hasn't all been at one spot. There's been many 401ks and IRAs and things they've had to put together.
Right.
But we have to make sure that we have a blueprint put together for the next chapter of your life. I couldn't imagine building a house without a blueprint, right? And so I couldn't imagine walking into the next phase, which is hopefully a joyous phase of your life. You've saved well. You can walk in and enjoy the things you want to enjoy in life, but you have to do it with a plan, or it could be a bad time in your life if you don't have a plan.
Well, it could suck the joy out of it.
That's exactly right.
And that's what we don't want folks to experience, is where these types of problems, taxes and withdrawal strategies, not having a plan for those things, sucking the joy out of what should be a really fruitful and exciting phase.
So it isn't the finish line. This is really just the beginning. So hopefully you have scanned the quiz. You scan the QR code that's on your screen. Or you can go to allonquiz.com. You can go to the website. The idea is, how do we prep? What is it that we don't know that we need to know going into all of this? And then for a lot of you, say, you know what, I'm there. I need some help. Can I get some prep? Can I have someone who's done this hundreds, thousands of times to make it work for you? Because you're not just a number. This is going to be different for everyone. So yours should be individualized as well. Then you're going to want to call the number on your screen so that you put together a complimentary written financial plan that is yours and yours alone. Let's do that for you so that you can make this better than a vacation. If it's going to last 20 or 30 years, the rest of your life, make the call. Let's put the plan together. We'll talk more about not drifting, but really having a design when we come back.
Are you actually ready for retirement, or just hoping everything works out?
At Allon Planning Partners, we've created a quick and powerful retirement readiness quiz to help you find out. It takes just a few minutes, and you'll get a personalized score showing how prepared you are in key areas like income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning.
It's free, it's simple, and it could give you the clarity and confidence that you've been missing. Don't leave your future to chance.
Take the quiz today at allonquiz.com and get a clear picture of where you stand and where you need to go.
Are you retirement ready?
Do you have an answer to that? Are you retirement ready? That's what we're kind of talking about today. Instead of just drifting, finding the design and doing that. I know for many of you, you do what you've been told to do. Like Jay said, that you've saved in your 401k or your 403b or your 457. This is what I'm told to do. And what you've also been told, let me reach a number.
That's right.
Let me find a number
right.
that's going to work. And you're shaking your head.
Everybody wants a magic number. Everybody that walks into my office says, this is the number I have. Is it enough? Well, maybe, maybe it is. Maybe it's more than enough. In some cases it is. But we don't know because we haven't put a strategy together to tell you if your lifestyle can be sustained on that number. It's not the portfolio number that matters. Let's put that to bed right now. You don't come in and say, this is my number and I hope it's enough. We're going to tell you if it actually is enough and what we can do to stretch that number. Because if you have a strategy, you're going to have your income mapped out. You're going to have a tax strategy to know I'm not going to pay too much in taxes. You're going to have appropriate risk management in retirement, right? There are things that we're going to walk through that it's not so much about, well, this is my $1 million or $500,000 or $5 million, whatever it may be that you've saved up. That's not what's going to give you peace at night. What's going to give you peace at night is knowing I can continue for the next 30 years living the lifestyle I want to live with the money that I have saved. That's what's going to give you peace, and that's the plan, the 5-pillar plan that we're going to talk about that we're going to help folks with.
Yeah, do you remember the commercial that was out, I don't know, years ago that had this number above people's heads as they were walking? They were walking around town. Everybody had a different number. And we can help folks come up with that number. But it's not just what your brother-in-law or a friend told you need to save this amount. Again, it depends on your income and your expenses. What are you spending? We need to understand what you're actually spending, what your lifestyle looks like to be able to come up with that number. So for those out there who are listening who may really want that number, what is that number I'm working towards? We can kind of reverse engineer that for you and help you come up with that. The idea is, man, it's a 4-letter word for a lot of people, budget, right? I don't want to budget, and I don't want to do this. And we've just kind of lived this way. This is what our necessities. I know that I have enough to pay the bills when I go out. What most of us fail to do is that planning for the next stage and saying, all right, what do I want my lifestyle to look like? Because we talk about it all the time, right? Nobody wants to take a pay cut in retirement. And yet we haven't planned that budget for what that looks like.
And so what does that blueprint look like, right? And there's 5 pillars that we walk every person or individual or couple through when they come into our office. The first one, we start with investment management. The problem is most firms that we've seen start and stop with investment management. And it's very important. It is one of the 5 pillars that we look at. It is not the most important piece, right? That's why I say the portfolio isn't the most important piece. It's how it's coordinated with everything else. And so you want to make sure your money's growing over time. You want to make sure you're keeping up with inflation. You want to make sure that you have enough funds to support your long-term needs. That's why investment management is important. That's why allocation strategies matter. But if we stop there, we're missing so many other dominoes that can take out that portfolio number really quickly. And so we look at investment management first. We want to make sure that pillar's covered. We want to make sure that it's not too risky so that you do not lose too much in market downturns. We want to make sure that it's not too conservative so that inflation eats it alive. We have to have appropriate risk tolerance for your goals. But we do not want to just stop there. But that's the first pillar that we want to really talk through is investment management. But that's where most people do stop, though. That's right.
To your point, that's why they come in and they say, here's my plan, here's my statement, here's my 401k, bottom line. That is not the plan. The investment is not the plan. The plan consists of the investment management piece. It consists of tax planning, estate planning, health care, actually having a strategy to withdraw income from your accounts. So all 5 of those are vital. That is what the actual plan is, not just the investment.
So let's talk about income planning for a minute. You want to make sure you can turn this portfolio into sustainable income going forward. That's not magic. You don't do this by hoping you drift into like, well, I'll just pull out as I need it. That doesn't work that way. What's going to happen is inefficiencies are going to destroy your portfolio over time. One, you can't be invested the way that you are as you're working and putting into these buckets, the same way when you're pulling out and withdrawing from these strategies, right? So you have to have an income strategy that works for retirement and for putting the portfolio to work. because that portfolio now is the workhorse. You have to make sure that that portfolio is able to give you the income that you need year over year for 30 years, right? That's what we want to see. And so we are very diligent in putting together income plans for folks that have to do with investment management, but it's really changing it and making the income the most important piece of retirement.
Well, and ensuring that there's multiple streams of income, not just taking just distributions from your investment accounts, but of course we're looking at Social Security. We're looking at pensions that folks may have, any types of those accounts that can add in and create multiple streams of income, so we're not completely dependent on just one.
We've said it all the time. Income is the outcome of retirement planning.
I want to put the quiz back up on the screen if we can, John. AllonQuiz.com is the idea of getting prepped. And if we're not going to drift, the idea is, what do we need to know so that we are not drifting? You scan the QR code that's on your screen. I'm going to leave that up before we go to break. The idea of what you said, okay, investments is where most of us land.
That's right.
Because many of the advisors that a lot of you are using have been accumulation advisors.
That's
right. I mean, that's the idea. I want to grow my money.
Up to that point.
So why do we have to shift? When you talk about a 5 pillars, why do we have to shift from, isn't it okay if I just keep growing the number and I just work out of this stuff that I have? Why do I have to have all of these extra pieces? And why is it special at Allon that you're now working specifically in the distribution phase, because it has to be different on this?
That's right.
You have to shift because there's so much more at stake and you have less time to get there. What you have on your side during those accumulation years is time.
It's time.
You have time. You have years to, if you sustain some losses, that's all right. We've got 10, 20 more years to grow and to build that up. That will return. It will come back. When you're 2, 3, 4, 5, even 7 years out from retirement, you have lesser and lesser time to actually take what you've got, grow what you've got, and convert it in a way to where you can actually use it to live on. That's the most important piece. You cannot get back time. The most valuable commodity, I believe, that we all have is time. We cannot go back. We cannot jump forward or make more time. We all have the same amount of time. But in this phase of life, when you are nearing or at retirement, you have many more things to look at and your timeline is shortened.
Yeah, our runway.
Yeah, there's so many stories I could tell based on accumulation versus distribution and why you need a distribution plan that looks different than your accumulation plan. It's hard because we're all emotional with our money. We've loved the last 30 years to see it just grow,
Good.
and it feels great. I've got this bigger number.
Right.
I'm accomplished.
It's good to see
I've
it
got
grow.
something. It's great, and we still want to put your money to work and let it grow for you. But you have to have a different mindset because distribution, just one story alone, if you're looking at an accumulation phase, you're looking at growth alone. An average return over a 30-year period is fine in the accumulation phase, right? I can go with the gas pedal down all the way to the floor because I am only worried about one thing, accumulation. You have to worry about the sequence in which you take those losses and gains in retirement. So sequence of returns is way more important than average return in retirement. Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
You remember Jenga? Whenever we were growing up, we play that Jenga game. It's blocks, and you're pulling Jenga pieces, right? Where you pull the Jenga pieces out in retirement, if I'm taking income, and I wish I had a Jenga set here today so I could show you. If I take it from the middle or the top, I still have stability. I still have a foundation. If I start pulling income when I first get out of retirement from the base of the Jenga, what happens? You get wobbly really quick. And the next thing you know, your tower's doing this. And like, I thought I had plenty. I thought I had plenty of money and this tower I could pull out wherever I wanted to pull. You cannot. You have to pull from strategic locations and create an income plan or your whole tower falls down. That's what we want to help you put together in an income strategy so that no matter what your number is, you pull from the right places at the right time and your foundation is set.
How's your foundation feeling right now? And the idea of, man, you're right. I probably don't have a plan. I've just been accumulating right now. Hopefully you've taken the quiz and then you're going to want to make a call so that we can put together a complimentary written financial plan that is yours and yours alone. putting all of these pieces together so that this doesn't fall is exactly what you want. So call the number on your screen so that you can do something for yourself. It is your way to put together a written financial plan so all the pieces work, and not just for now, but for later. Let's do it for you. And we'll come back to wrap up the plan when we return.
Allon means oak tree, and when we began this firm 7, 8, 9 years ago, something like that, we were searching, trying to determine what do we really want to build this foundation on? How do we want to depict and share this mission that we have with the world? What does this look like?
And so as we were processing through what should be the grounding factor, the name of our company, Allon really stood out. It's actually the Hebrew word for oak tree.
And we knew that the oak tree was going to be the symbol for what we are, how we operate, because those are the kinds of financial plans we want to create.
And so Allon comes from the Psalms, where it talks about the tree that is planted by the water, that has deep roots, that even in times of drought, this tree can sustain life, and it bears fruit in every season.
That really became the foundation and the mantra of our firm. Why we do what we do, who we are, how we operate.
We want to create plans for people with deep roots that even in times of turmoil it hits their life. Maybe it's a death in their family. Maybe it's another financial crisis. Maybe it's COVID, and something that we can't even see coming. But the roots are so deep that they bear fruit in all seasons because we have a plan for every season of life.
Glad you're with us. Brad Johansson along with Jane Brittany Hagee, Allon Planning Partners, and we're trying to put your plan together. The idea is that we kick the can down the road. We just procrastinators for the most part, and we don't want to do something that's, well, it feels unpleasant because I've got a plan for 20, 30 years. The idea is if you don't, somebody else has got a plan for you. His name's Uncle Sam, and there are others beyond that. So let's go into taxes with that. Why is this such a crucial part? Because here's another thing that we've been told. Your tax is going to be lower in retirement, so you don't have to worry about that. We'll wait. Jay
we'll see what Congress
heartily.
says about that, right? We'll see what our budget and our deficit says about that, because we're almost at $40 trillion in debt. How are we ever going to pay this back? Well, most of it's in a piggy bank called your IRA. And so we've got to figure out, how do we position ourselves to where we're protected from future taxes that we don't know about? You do have a partner in every one of these accounts that you've tax deferred, and that's Uncle Sam. And so we have to kick him out as easy and as gently as possible to where he doesn't try to rip away more money than is due to him. So you have to have a tax strategy. We talked about investment strategy, income strategy. Taxes is just as important, because if I've got a great investment strategy, I'm growing money like crazy, I've got an income strategy, now I know where I'm going to take these income and paychecks from, but I do not do that at the right time, at the right place, Uncle Sam's going to let me know about it, right? I'm going to have tax burden that's over what I should be paying. So we have to have a strategy that says tax deferred, tax free, and taxable accounts. You have to have multiple strategies and multiple buckets to pull out of at different times in order to lower your tax liability. And that's what we try to do.
And if you're not actually tax planning, it will also impact your estate situation. Because what you intend to pass on to your heirs will never actually make it to them, because Uncle Sam will take more than he should. Right? So this is an example of how it's all interconnected. You think that they're kind of all silos that work and operate independently, but one really impacts the other.
Well, we always say taxes, it's not what you make, it's what you keep, right? That's important. But it's also with the state, like you talked about, it's not what you leave, it's what they receive.
Well, in the legacy planning, we talk about kick the can. I can do that later. You're saying in the 5 pillars that you talk about, if we don't include this in this now, it causes that Jenga fall.
It is. It's going to cause the tower to topple over quicker than you would hope. And so most of it's going to be Uncle Sam, or it's going to leave a lot of confusion in the heirs, and there's going to be maybe tied up in probate court for years, right? And so we have to make sure that we have the pillar of estate planning to make sure it's not just my intentions of what I want to leave, but my heirs and the beneficiaries that I love, whether it's charities or my children, whatever it may be, that they actually receive what I intend for them to receive. And then it's while you're living with POAs, right?
Right. Yeah. It's not, estate planning is not just for when you pass on, but it's for when you are still living. But another important pillar that we can't close the show today without talking about is healthcare.
Yeah.
Ensuring that we have a plan in place to cover healthcare expenses. And here's another quick example of how they're all interconnected. We had a family come in and sit down with us and talk through retirement and how they had recently retired, but they came to us because they had experienced an increase in their Medicare premiums, and they didn't understand why. And it was because their income had been so high.
Yeah.
That was something they didn't know. They didn't know that if your income is above a certain threshold, it increases your Medicare premiums. And so that's an example of how your income and the play there, what you're actually receiving, absolutely impacts these other areas.
And
their healthcare premiums went up because
that
of it.
family also was drawing out of IRA buckets, which means that increased their income even more, which pushed that IRMA level even higher. And so we have to interconnect all of these things. There's only so much we can do on a 30-minute show, but that's why we offer complimentary consultations, because we give our time to you. We'll give you an hour of time to walk you through these 5 pillars and say, where are you lacking? Maybe you have your portfolio. We had that last week. I've got a great portfolio. I feel like I've done great growing, but I have absolutely no coordination.
Right.
We didn't understand how I'm going to actually receive this money. If I've got $5 million sitting in a tax-deferred account, Uncle Sam loves you because he wants to try to get as much money out of that as he can. How do we put an income plan together that doesn't totally just devastate you in taxes? And how do we make sure you pass on those assets to the next generation in ways they can actually receive them, right? And then how do we finally make sure that we have a healthcare plan put in place to where you don't have one healthcare incident that wipes out all the portfolio? So we want to make sure that you have all 5 pillars put in place. AllonQuiz.com is a great place to start with that. Go to AllonQuiz.com and just fill out a few pieces of information, and it will show you where you are on your retirement journey.
Maybe you've been drifting for a long time now and say, you know what, I kind of like a design that is going to last longer than a vacation, that is going to take me into 20, 30 years of retirement with a plan that says, this might work. Make sure that you call the number on your screen so that we can put together a written financial plan that is yours and yours alone. Thanks for being with us. We can't wait to see you in the office, and right back here next time on the Allon Exchange.